sliced in half by a Jedi, and they actually, in this, they have the battle damage on it so that if the piece is on the ground for those shots, you can see like as if a lightsaber cut him in half and he's holding a blaster. On the right is a prop piece for a Mustafar rock. So they had a bunch of these foam kind of lava rocks that they used on the set. A lot of it was CG, but then the close-ups, they had these like foam rocks. Some other prequel pieces, this is a new Gunray mask, and this is a case where, like Tom described, where you kind of restore a mask, put it on kind of a base, because this is like a silicone mask that's really flimsy, but if it's on, kind of, a head that forms it, it looks much nicer in the display, and then a clapper from Episode 1. And here's some other clappers picked up from different Star Wars movies, a couple Empire Strikes Back clappers, and a Blue Harvest clapper that was used for Return of the Jedi. So I've been trying, actually, finding clappers from the films in some ways is harder than actually finding props from the movies, because people have only been able to locate clappers from a few of the Star Wars films. This is a piece I got from Brandon. This is the tail mechanism for Jabba. So this was actually, a lot of the stuff they made for Return of the Jedi in the original trilogy had some really cool low-tech features, and they basically wired up this Jabba tail and had a guy just crank a handle that would do the turning and motion of Jabba's tail, and just a really awesome piece, and just huge. Just the end of the tail is a massive piece. So you can just imagine how the whole life-size Jabba, how massive that piece was. Here are some miniatures used for special effect shots. So on the left is the cloak and cap that Leia wore on the speeder bike on the Endor chase, and on the right is the jacket that Han had on Hoth for the riding on his Tauntaun. So these are just miniatures that they made for all the model shots that they did in the movies, and some of the accessories are there with Han below that. Some other miniature pieces from Empire Strikes Back. On the left is an AT-AT Walker model. So they made models of different scales for the AT-AT Walkers. This is one of the background models, so it's a smaller model. And what's interesting about that one is when you see it from a distance, or like in a shot like this, it looks like a very detailed 3D model. But what it actually is a set of 2D planes that are painted really nicely, and so it gives this illusion of a 3D walker, but since it's used in the background, they didn't need to make a fully three-dimensional model. But they would animate the legs and so on in the background. On the right is a stamper that was used to do footprints. So when they're doing close-ups of footprints in the snow, they just used it to do that for the special effects shots. Here are a couple different Ewok masks. So I have like 3 different Ewok masks, and so they're all. What's interesting about the Ewok masks is that they made every single one is different. There are dozens of them. They made different color furs, different noses, just different sizes, and that they went to that much trouble for those creatures is pretty amazing, because in many of the other films and so on, they would just kind of repeat a mask, but all the Ewoks are each one is custom. And here's another Cantina band member. I think we all own a Cantina band mask.
Cantina band up here? Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And this is one that was used in the holiday special also. So they altered it a little bit for the holiday special. They changed the eyes out, and I think all the Cantina band masks most of them were right.
I think you had about 7 in the first film, 5 in the holidays. So most of them got dual use. But I just love that this can be screen matched in that way.
And here's a Nikto mask from Return of the Jedi. So, and this is one that can be matched to various scenes for the sail barge scenes in Return of the Jedi. So one of the things I like to collect are blasters used in the Star Wars films. So here's a few. Here's a few laid out on the floor, and then I have a display case on the right. This gun rack that has a bunch of different props, as things like Hoth Rebel rifles, Biker Scout pistol, Stormtrooper blaster, New Hope Rebel blaster, Tusken rifle, etc. So as I picked up new blasters, I put it in this case, and then it just started filling up the case with these different blasters. But yeah, the blasters of Star Wars, just kind of iconic, and just the seeing the silhouette of them, you immediately identify it as Star Wars. And then and this piece is one of the detonator grenades from Return of the Jedi. You can see the Arabesh writing on it. What's cool about this is that you can actually screen match it. They do a close-up of it in the film. It actually has working electronics on it. So this is an example of a piece that you're able to actually screen match. Is a cap from Empire Strikes Back, one of the rebel caps, and then on the left is one of the, what I call the rebel bureaucrats. It's the dudes that are standing in kind of the ceremony and the Yavin that are kind of lined up, and they're kind of wearing, this is like technician outfit. And this is Grand Moff Tarkin's slacks from New Hope. So it's actually very hard to find costume pieces from any of the main actors, but this one has still tags from the actor. It's a piece I acquired recently. It's a Luke belt from A New Hope. So I found it from a guy who had done trucking for between the different warehouses in Southern California during the films. And what was interesting when I picked up the piece was that usually in a film they'll make multiple belts or any kind of accessory. And so I started going through the film to see where I could screen match it, and like every single shot of the movie, this belt matched to it. So like there's so many artifacts on the buckle, on the pouches, the belt itself, that it was just used extensively throughout A New Hope. So I haven't been able to find another belt. I think it's the only belt that was used in A New Hope. This is a bandolier, a Tuscan bandolier, also from A New Hope.
What could be better than a Tuscan bandolier, though?
Perfect lead-in. This is a Tuscan Raider mask from A New Hope, also acquired recently. So the Tuscan Raider mask, they made 3 for the first movie. 2 are the Lucasfilm archives. This is the 3rd one. Acquired this one a few months ago. What's cool about the Tuscan masks is that each of them have a bandage pattern that is unique, so you can screen match them fairly easily. So you can pick out exactly which Tuscan Raider this mask is used for. And so that's the early Tuscan Raider masks were just a lot of quality put into it with metal parts, leather pieces. Just compared to later on in the prequels, they were not as nicely made. This is Boba Fett's backpack from Return of the Jedi. This is a stunt backpack worn by Dickie Beers when he rolled into the Sarlacc pit. So they made one that allowed him to kind of do that safely. And they actually have about 3 or 4 different backpacks for just the sail barge scenes in Return of the Jedi for just different things they needed to do with Boba Fett. This is a Yoda rehearsal puppet from Empire Strikes Back. This piece wasn't used on screen, but it's another example of something used in making the films. There's a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage where there are shots where you see folks like Frank Oz and Mark Hamill around this rehearsal puppet in practicing for Empire Strikes Back. This is a Darth Vader helmet from Empire Strikes Back, and similar to Tom was talking about earlier, it's on kind of a clear face mask so that your attention is drawn to the original piece, which is the helmet itself.
I love that concept for display. It's beautiful. And finally,
that's No Moon. This is the big one that got away, the Death Star. So this is another piece I have, which is the original Death Star model from A New Hope. It's a pretty massive model that they made for the 3D shots in the movie. It's been on loan to museums before, and it's now back in our house.
So, what we're going to do, we have to wrap up, but we've got a couple of quick raffle things to do. Just bear with us for 1 second. Does everyone have their raffle tickets? Yeah. I am going to, I'll pull them out of the Boba Fett prototype helmet.
What are we giving away, Tom? What are we giving away?
Let's do, I've got 4 shirts to give away. Let's get, I've got 4 shirts to give away. Let's bang those out, and then we'll hit that as the big grand prize. So, 9725. 379725. There you go.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
If we have time, we'll be in the room next door and we can take some more questions.
No, sir.